me just introduce the Environment Institute of Kenya. As it may, Environment Institute of Kenya, abbreviated as EIK, is a professional body for environmentalists or people in the environment-related field. And our core mandate is just focused towards promoting, maintaining, and advancing professional standards and best practice in the field of sustainable development and environment conservation for the sake of the current and the future generation. So maybe towards the end, we should be able to just talk more about who is EIK and what EIK is about. But I believe that at this stage, we should be able to just get ready and begin our webinar. The webinar will take this mode. The first part of this webinar. Sorry, I believe I'm visible. The first part of this webinar is basically we'll have a presentation from Dr. Jane Mburu. And Dr. Jane Mburu is an environmental technology lecturer and also an analytical chemist from the Muranga University. And she will be just taking us through a basic background of what the sodium cyanide is all about and what the chemical is about. Then we'll also have a brief submission from Mr. Andrew Kimani, who is the Director of Environment, Kiambu County. He should be able to also just give us a bit of a situational analysis and the facts on the ground, because we know this contamination or this accident rather happened in Kiambu County, so this is squarely under his area of operation. But also in attendance, we have Mr. Kevin Olaitiptip. Olaitiptip is an environmentalist and a strategic planning expert who works as the Deputy Director of Environment Monitoring, Compliance and Enforcement. He holds a Bachelor of Environmental Planning and Management from Kenyatta University and is also a lead expert. We spoke, I believe, he also should be able to join in a few. And finally, also in attendance, we have Mr. Lawrence Mwangi, who is the Assistant Director, Environment Monitoring, Compliance and Enforcement from Nairobi City County. His background is in green and circular economy. Then he also has a degree in environment planning and management and a master's in environment and community development with over 10-year experience working in government in the environment management sector. So I have checked, and I believe now all the four, the lady and the three gentlemen have already joined in, and I look forward to just having an engaging conversation. So we'll have a first part, which will just include a presentation and a brief submission from a presentation from Dr. Jane Mburu, a brief submission from Mr. Andrew Kimani. Then from there, we'll also have Mr. Olaitiptip and Mr. Lawrence just giving an input. Then we'll also open it up to them that are in the session for a brief discussion. And I believe by the end we should have just an informed people, so that we are also able to just know, because the bigger question is, we've heard about this issue of the cyanide, and we've heard that some of it is in the hands of the members of the public. So the question is, are Kenyans really safe? So thank you. And again, my name is Edwin Ochieno, and I look forward to an interactive session. Allow me to welcome Dr. Jane Mburu, who will be going first, who should be able to just give us a brief presentation on what exactly is sodium cyanide. Welcome, Dr. Jane. Dr. Jane, can you hear us? Dr. Jenboru, you are on mute. Maybe if you're trying to say something, we can't hear you. I don't know if you can hear us from your end, because we are allowing you to give us the presentation. Yes, Dr. Jen,
Yes.
okay, good,
Yes,
good.
I'm now
Welcome.
okay. Yeah.
So we are, it's your turn to share, give us your presentation. So maybe you may want to share your screen and share the presentation.
Yeah, let me share the screen. Oh, into table 2.
Yes, you can go to the first slide, then you can put it on slideshow.
Maybe could you share from your end?
Okay, let me do that. You
All
can
right.
stop sharing so that I can share.
Okay. Maybe in the presentation mode. Yeah. You could put the slides in presentation mode. Hello, maybe you could check whether the one you're trying to open is in PDF so that you use the alternative.
What I'm saying, oh, can you hear me? Sorry, I was on mute.
I'm saying that if you are not able to put in presentation mode, I've sent two. One is in PDF. You could use the other one.
Okay, because I'm
Yeah.
trying to, let me download that one. I don't know what the issue is from my end. Sorry, guys, just a small technical hitch. Let me share the PDF version. Yes, I'm told Mr. Kimani is also in. Let me just get that right. You sent me the PDF on email?
You have two.
Okay.
Yeah, you have two. So try the other one. If the one you are using is not working.
Okay. Downloaded it. Just a minute. Okay, as we sort that, I think maybe we'll allow Mr. Kimani, who is in, to give his presentation, so that I know Mr. Kimani is already in here, so that then we will come back to the presentation maybe immediately thereafter. So, Mr. Kimani, from your end, Mr. Kimani is supposed to just help us with the situational analysis. And sorry, Daktari, allow me to just sort that in a few. I'm also trying to see what the challenge is from my end, but then we have Mr. Kimani joining in. Welcome, Mr. Kimani. And
Thank you so much.
From your end, we would want just to get the situational analysis. And normally, when I've hung around, I feel people in the legal end. When we have a matter like this, we normally talk about the facts of the matter, as well as now the legal or the law in the matter. So from your end, probably I would just, for purposes of the audience, would start by just asking, maybe what are the facts concerning this particular situation?
Good afternoon, or is it evening? So my name is Andrew Kimani, the Director Environment, Kiambu County. I'll just give an overview. And before that, I have the environment and public health background. So what happens that on the 20th, on Saturday evening, a truck that was transporting sodium cyanide to Uganda and probably the DRC overturned, and the obvious and the most unfortunate situation happened. The onlookers and people around decided to break and get a bit of whatever was in the container, not knowing the dangers that was looming onto them. So in the unfortunate situation, not knowing that it was toxic, around 24, 25 containers of sodium cyanide were carted away by people who thought it was substance of value to them. Then a bit of it also spilled during the breaking of the locks. And by the time when the police came on board, they noticed that this was toxic waste, toxic substance on transit, and they informed Kiambu County. And the public health and the Directorate of Environment officials were deployed immediately to go and establish what exact happened. So what was established is that this substance was headed for Uganda and DRC for processing of gold from coal. And the response was quite fast. The national government also deployed chiefs, who in turn again also brought in village elders and the Nyumbakumi. So for the Kiambu County government, the governor also took charge, and I think the audience has seen him addressing the county and the nation on the same. So currently, the other team that has been deployed is the CHPs, the community health personnel, who are assisting in checking door to door. So as of now, around 20 of the same have been recovered by police. Some have brought in because they were told nobody will be arrested. Unfortunately, we have reports that some were carted away by matatus that would probably be headed to Rift Valley. But we are doing door to door, and community awareness is ongoing. It's also on our local FM stations. So we can say that most people are aware of it, and we hope to mop up what was stolen. We did also map out the areas of spillage, and as we were mobilizing sodium hydrochloride for detoxification of the site, then we had heavy rainfall. So again, that brought a dilemma, and everything was washed away. So what we are not sure is whether the other areas that have been disposed of, because currently the people who have taken those things sometimes are just placing them in the open, then we come and pick. So that is the current scenario in Kiambu County. We also established the company that was transporting this substance. It is called Noeta. So we have the contact and also the contact person, which you are following closely upon. As we do our surveillance, what can be difficult and is becoming difficult is that the people who came in touch with this toxic substance are not revealing themselves. And we are hoping and praying that there was no direct exposure on the same, because inhalation and lengthy exposure could lead to toxicity. So that is a scenario that we are looking at. We had anticipated to take soil samples, but again, looking critically is that the cyanide grades, depending on the composition. Of course, the pellets take longer, but the other solutions degrade very fast in soil. And our intention was to degrade, if we're not for the rains, we required around 250 liters of the bleach. But then it rained because sodium hypochlorite invokes ozonation process, which assists in degrading the cyanide. So currently we have not had any admissions. We have also given our toll-free numbers for anybody who will have an emergency. But so far we haven't had any case. So that's the current scenario here. On the legal and the legal way of doing these things is that one, my feeling and our feeling as a county is that the transporter did not observe the rules and regulations of transporting such toxic waste, because the truck is supposed to be properly labeled, of course, tight, free of leakage. So some of those things were flouted. And we are still waiting to get all the facts on the ground. And if there'll be a possibility, he can be taken to court. So those are the possibilities, because there was a flout in that. Supposed to be properly labeled, specialized vehicles for that, with a lot of emergency equipment for evacuation and such, and that lacked. So there was a
Okay.
lacuna in that, or a contravention of the law. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, Mr. And we appreciate that. Mr. Isaac, I know you have a question. We'll come to a moment of question and answer or comment. I just want to maybe one information I would need from you, Mr. Andrew, is that this consignment, where was it coming from, and where was its intended destination? Maybe just clarify on that one. Then we'll go back to the presentation. Then the other presenters. Then we'll open this up for the rest. So, yes, sir.
So as I said earlier, the consignment was being transported from Mombasa. We have not had the proper documentation, but we know that it was headed to Uganda and DRC.
Okay. Also, it was not necessarily meant for the local market.
No, this was meant for processing gold from the ore.
That's okay. Thank you so much for that insight. I know I've been able to capture a bit of the details and the information you've given. I believe the technical hitch with the presentation by Dr. Jen has been addressed. So, Dr. Jen, welcome again. I believe now we should be able to have the presentation.
All right, that's okay. So maybe full screen. Can I try sharing from my end?
Okay, Doctor, just share. Let us proceed. I think whatever the challenge is, I don't know, because the one handling the presentation from his end is saying in his screen it's showing us a slideshow, but on this screen it's not.
Okay, it's also blocked from my screen. I don't know why.
I think it's okay. We can use it as it were, so that
Right.
for purposes of time, I think there's something that's we're missing here. Okay, Daktari, maybe you can proceed as the technical person is working on what's the matter.
Okay, so maybe I could introduce the topic on assessing the risk of sodium cyanide spillage at Kambembe, Kiambu County in Kenya. Now, when we think about cyanide, what comes in the mind is the toxicity levels of cyanide. And the fact that we are saying that there was a spillage of cyanide in Kiambu County, it actually brings a lot of panic to the residents of the Kiambu County. So because you fail to understand how far the chemical could have gone or maybe spilled, considering that there's a lot of ignorance with the public on what they are handling. So I want first to give a background on cyanide. Cyanide is any chemical compound that contains carbon and nitrogen ion that constitutes a triple bond and a negative charge, the cyano group. So cyanide comes in different forms.
Boss, scroll slide presenter.
The slides are not moving.
I can't scroll from my end,
Okay,
but
good.
yeah, you're scrolling, yeah? Okay, in the second slide. So cyanide is any chemical compound that contains that group. It's called cyano group, constituting of carbon and nitrogen. The different forms of cyanide, it can either come as a solid, for example, the sodium cyanide, the one we are talking about. We have potassium cyanide. We also have hydrogen cyanide. We also have it in gaseous form. And the gas is normally colorless, and the odor is almost undetectable. Most people can't actually smell it. Then in liquid form, it's well dissolved. It could be either in as a cyanide ion, or hydrogen cyanide. All right. So the sources included industrial spillage or industrial waste, especially for gold mining, manufacturing of textile, plastics, and all that. Another source could be natural source, such as plants. There are some certain plants that actually have cyanide, like the cassava, the apple seeds. We also have environmental sources such as volcanoes, smoke. And you could also get cyanide salts from reactions. For example, sodium cyanide was first discovered in the 1782 by someone called Carl Wilhelm of Sweden, and he was trying to prepare a dye. It's called a glycerin blue dye. Next slide, please. Slide number 3. So cyanide poisoning normally occurs when a living organism is exposed to a compound that produces the cyanide ion. So common poisons, or the common poisonous cyanide compounds include hydrogen cyanide gas, sodium cyanide, potassium cyanide. These are very common. And the types of cyanide poisoning come in two ways. Either it could be acute poisoning, or it could come as chronic poisoning. Acute poisoning is when maybe somebody inhales liquid having moisture having hydrogen cyanide, or even the gas itself or some salts in moisture form having the cyanide ion. At low doses, normally one would feel confused, headache, probably have difficulties in breathing, and even go to a coma, or even finally to a cardiac arrest. That is acute. Like when those people that were trying to grab that substance, if somebody went with it and tried opening, you can imagine the exposure, and very small amounts of cyanide can actually cause death. Very, very small amounts. We shall see that. All right. We also have chronic poisoning. That's when you have daily exposure at low concentrations. Maybe somebody who is working with pesticides, insecticides in the farm, or somebody who is consistently used to taking cassava. So chronic poisoning also does happen. So cyanide is highly lethal because it diffuses into the tissues and binds to the target sites in seconds, in a matter of seconds. Slide number 4. So when we talk about cyanide is an ion. It has a very high affinity for metal ions. Like it has ability to attract metal ions. So that's why it's able to form salts such as sodium cyanide, potassium cyanide, and all that. So now, sodium cyanide. What is sodium cyanide? Sodium cyanide is a poisonous compound with the formula sodium ion and the cyanide. If you look at that formula, it is very similar to sodium chloride, the common salt we know. And sodium cyanide behaves just as the common salt. It's readily soluble in water. So a little rain will actually dissolve the substance very fast and convert it to hydrogen cyanide, which is the most toxic form of sodium cyanide. Exposure to sodium cyanide can be rapidly fatal in a matter of seconds. So when inhaled or ingested, it poses serious health risks, including difficulties in breathing, rapid breathing, headache, dizziness, vomiting, loss of consciousness, and even it can lead to death. So we go to the next slide, which is slide number 5. It is a white crystalline solid powder. That's how it appears. And at times, sodium cyanide could look more like lumps. The chemical structure has the sodium ion and the cyanide. It's normally produced through a reaction that involves hydrogen cyanide being reacted with sodium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide in industrial times, they call it soda ash. So once you react hydrogen cyanide with sodium hydroxide, then you form sodium cyanide. It's normally used commercially. It's also used for fumigation, electroplating, extracting of gold. It's very common, gold mining. Yeah. And for industrial purposes, it's used in industries like paper industries, textile, plastics, photographic material production, and all that. The next slide, please, slide number 6. Toxicity of cyanide salt. The cyanide salt are quite toxic as they are highly soluble in water. If we were talking about a salt that's not readily soluble, that would be something else. But in our case here, we are talking about a salt that will dissociate with a simple solvent such as water and give an end product that is very toxic, that is the hydrogen cyanide. So they readily dissolve to form the cyanide ions. And these cyanide ions, once released from the molecule sodium cyanide, they easily form other salts. For example, if you dissolve sodium cyanide and you probably have the spill on the ground, the soil has so many ions like the sodium, potassium, iron, so it will end up forming compounds with those salts, with those ions in the soil. So the stability of the salts and the complexes formed are actually dependent on the pH. So for example, at pH 11, which is basic, 99% of cyanide remains in solution as cyanide ion. At a pH of 7, which is normally the neutral pH expected as well for surface water, the cyanide will exist as hydrogen cyanide, which is most toxic form. Then at a pH between 9.3 to 9.5, they exist in equilibrium, the cyanide ion and the hydrogen cyanide. However, the hydrogen cyanide is primarily the most toxic agent in this case. So we go to slide number 7. The toxic substance in form of hydrogen cyanide rapidly enters the blood and circulates throughout the body. Once someone is exposed to probably sodium cyanide, and maybe the skin is wet, or maybe it's dissolved by some water or something, and it's now in form of hydrogen cyanide, then we are saying that it enters the blood and circulates through the body. Even upon breathing the fumes, you know, the mucus along the trachea, they dissolve that. They dissolve it and it enters to the body cells by inhibiting crucial enzymes involved in cellular respiration. So, for example, we have blood that has iron. They therefore form, they inhibit the enzymes that have that are able to operate with iron, and instead they are not able to operate efficiently in the body. So this would lead to some effects such as central nervous system gets affected, vascular, pulmonary, and metabolic systems, they all get affected. So what are the clinical toxicology? What's the clinical toxicology of cyanide? Exposure could occur either by inhalation of gaseous cyanide. It could also occur through ingestion, like ingestion, you take some accidentally or so, or dermal, which is skin contact. So what are the concentrations that are lethal? Lethal meaning 50% of the exposed population would end up dying. So 100 to 300 milligrams per liter will cause death within 10 to 60 minutes. 2,000 milligrams per liter is actually fatal, and it is immediately in a minute. So that's to say, if you inhale, for example, someone is trying to open that can, because the can is normally very well sealed in those containers that are maybe allowed. So should someone try opening the can, you know, Kenyans with a small economy, maybe trying to sell in small quantities or something, even 2,000 milligrams is enough to actually cause death in a minute. Ingestion. If, for example, we have contamination in the food, in food chain, then 50 to 200 milligrams or 1 to 3 milligrams per kilogram of body weight would become fatal. Dermal or skin contact 100 milligrams of hydrogen cyanide will become fatal as well. We go to slide number 8. What's the environmental fate of sodium cyanide? We have examples. For example, in Kiambu, there was a cyanide spill in January 30th, year 2000. Kiambu is not in one of our countries, but the fact that it happened, it was recorded. And what we are seeing in that picture is a fish kill, massive fish kill. All right. Another instance happened in Baskun River, where a truck carrying 20 tons of sodium cyanide crashed and fell into the river, and over 1.7 tons spills of the cyanide were drained to the river. So the company, which was a mining company, did not inform immediately. They informed the residents after like 5 hours, and therefore over 2,500 people were poisoned. 850 were actually hospitalized. And this sent panic that spread throughout the community, mainly because of lack of reliable communication, and also caused a lot of loss in revenue. Of course, nobody wants to go in a place where there has been such a spill. All right, so there were protests, and the people in that residence had wanted to be given compensation. We go to slide number 9. Assessing the risk of cyanide in cyanide spillage in Kambembe, Kenya. Now, this is our country, Kenya, where people really want to take advantage of such situations where we have trucks colliding and falling, and people want to take fuel. Some want to take whatever it is that they are containing. But in this case, people are carrying cans of cyanide. What is the severe environmental damage that could result from this? So, once sodium cyanide is in the environment, because of course, if the lorry fell and there were some cans in there, they are metallic cans, some maybe could have opened or something, and a little bit of spillage or something. So once this gets to the environment, it reacts rapidly with moisture to form hydrogen cyanide. And that toxic fume can cause death through suffocation. Sodium cyanide also persists in soil and water, and therefore threatens the ecosystem and easily enters into food chain. So you can imagine if we had some young men who are trying to grab what they could, and as we are in our so-called winter season in Kenya, of course, the atmosphere was moisture. There was a lot of moisture. There was a lot of UV radiation from the sun. And so you imagine that all that fuel constituting hydrogen cyanide, these people could have breathed a lot. All right. Then we have health effects to humans. Human crisis. We have health crisis as residents in Kiambu store looted toxic sodium cyanide. So now the storage is the problem. How do they handle something they don't know how to? So that definitely creates a health crisis because nobody knows where and how they would dispose it. Some might even decide to put it in the toilets, the pit latrines. So you don't know how they are going to do it. if they are afraid of surrendering what they have at hand. So we are looking towards a health crisis if they do not return these containers. Then the other would be widespread poisoning, spillage being washed by rainwater to residential areas. Of course, we have children playing around and all that. So as long as there is a hydrogen cyanide in the water, then that water is not safe. Then let's go to slide number 10. The risk of exposure to cyanide poisoning depends on the form and the time of exposure. So for example, short-term exposure leads to acute poisoning, like we have said. This could be due to inhalation of the hydrogen cyanide itself, ingestion, or skin contact. Difficult in breathing, and all that could result to loss of life. That's acute poisoning. And even, for example, when you have a spillage and they come and treat that area using sodium hypochlorite, the normal jig, the substance that is formed out of that is cyanate. That salt is lesser harmful, 10 times lesser harmful than the cyanide itself, but again, it's irritative to the skin. People start getting skin conditions and all that. All right. Then we have short-term exposure, which is anything above 300 milligrams per liter could cause fatal. It could cause immediate death. Then long-term exposure, we are looking at soil contamination, contamination of surface water and groundwater, and also effect on aquatic ecosystem. All right. When we look at the chronic poisoning of a long period of time, we are looking at neurological issues, including memory loss, memory problems, increased rate of anxiety, depression, and all that. Let's go to slide number 11. So incidences of cyanide spillage did not start today. These are things that have happened even before. In gold mines, for example, in year 2000, a gold mine spill in Romania released 100,000 cubic meters of cyanide contaminated water into a river, Danube River, and causing extensive environmental damage across multiple countries. So you can imagine water in a river that is crossing through many countries, and we have such kind of a spillage. This would be very fatal to many communities. Then we also have a warehouse explosion that happened in China and released significant amount of sodium cyanide, contributing to 173 deaths and widespread contamination. We also have an accident that was due to toxic industrial cyanide inhalation. So in this incident, it was an industrial process during electroplating, and this is the picture we are seeing on that slide. So we go to slide number 12. There are several ways of controlling exposure, or maybe when someone is exposed, there are a few things that one could do. For example,
The slides are not moving.
Maybe Daktari, the slide you're reading from is different from the one we have, because what you're talking about in slide number 11 and slide number 12, for us, the slide number 12 is the last slide.
all right.
So you may want to confirm from your end. I think the slide you shared ended at number 12. So maybe you can share your screen now if you are able to share the last slide you're talking about.
All right, let me try.
And also we may want to be concluding because we've spent much time and we have other people contributing. I see a lot of people raising their hands, so we want to just have that conversation.
Yeah, let me conclude we are actually concluding.
Yes.
So exposure control, maybe for those who have been involved or were in one or the other came into contact with the poison, it's important to remove clothing. Also, dermal contamination, probably by water. You could consider using of gloves, cleaning the contaminated areas, removing those clothes that maybe came out, were contaminated with the same. Then you could also consider using 12% of sodium hypochlorite solution to avoid any exposure that, and the waste water cans that probably were used could also be used with 12% of JIC, that is sodium hypochlorite. So thank you for listening.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. for that. And I believe there'll be more questions coming in. Before we just go to the questions, because I see Professor Michael Koech is ready with a question or a comment. Allow me to just in 2 minutes, Mr. Oli Tip Kevin, who is from the Nairobi County government. Maybe just a question to you as you give your comment. We have seen the conversation about the whatever had spilled. We've been told. We've been told by Mr. Andrew Kimani that there was rain, and part of that. Dr. You may want to stop sharing your screen.
All right.
Yes. There was Mr. Ole Tip. This was the question I wanted to ask. Is that we've had your colleague from Kiambu County reporting that there was some wash away from there, so which it means and Nairobi also being metropolitan, we're expecting if there is any effect downstream or the other side, Nairobi could probably be affected. So I just want you now that you've heard about this, what are the level of preparedness, or are there any measures as the Nairobi County government that you've put in place concerning this matter?
Thank you, Edward, and thank you for that, Dr. for that comprehensive presentation, and also for Kiambu County for doing a rapid response on that incident. For Nairobi City County, because I represent the Department of Environment, Monitoring, Compliance and Enforcement, we have placed our teams on high alert on those sub-counties actually bordering Kiambu, that is Westlands, Dagoretti South, and to some extent, Roysambu. So we have a disaster management team, and then we have the representation from the ward level, that is the ward environment officers and the sub-county chief environment officers, who are technical officers. So they are on a high alert to make sure that any incidents seen or reported by the community must be responded because of the highly toxic nature of the chemical. So that is what we have done from Nairobi City County, but also in the midst of us, there is Lawrence Mwangi, who will elaborate more on the mechanism, on the plans that we have as Nairobi City County to make sure that we are well prepared to address anything that will be reported by the community.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Kevin. Yes, Mr. Lawrence is. I believe if you are here, you may just want to, in a minute, pick it up from there so that we go to the Q&A. Kindly, what is Nairobi? From the Nairobi County, what are the plans?
Thank you, moderator, and thank you, previous speakers. I just wanted to just mention briefly on what are the roles of transporters and handlers of hazardous material and chemicals. One is to ensure safety. They ensure that their vehicles are correctly labeled, and also make sure that they materials are well handled. The issue of containment for those who are transporting, to ensure that in case of an accident, they are the people responsible to ensure there is no further spread. They should also be able to make sure that they alert the authorities. This could be the police, the fire department, or the environmental authorities. The issue of cleanup, they are responsible for ensuring they do the cleanup. They know the kind of material they are handling. They should be able to come up with an adequate management plan to ensure a cleanup is done just in case there is an accident. The issue of monitoring of the site to ensure that there is no further contamination, and also to provide a report and investigation that will ensure that there is no further contamination. But before I end, I also wanted to mention a few of the laws that govern transportation of dangerous substances. This is regulated under various laws and regulations to ensure safety for both public and environment. And to mention some of them, one is the Occupational Safety and Health Act of 2007. And this regulation promotes the occupational safety and health in Kenya, and it covers the handling, storage, transportation of hazardous material and substances. The other law is the Transportation of Dangerous Goods Act, Cap 233, and this also provides on how these dangerous goods are supposed to be packaged, labeled, documentation, and also how they should be transported. We have the MCA. The MCA regulates on environmental matters, including transportation of hazardous substances. It requires the individuals involved in transporting dangerous substances to adhere to environmental standards and precautions to prevent pollution. We also have the Kenya Transport and Logistics Network regulations, which also provides guidelines for handling hazardous material, including proper labeling and issues of emergency response and procedures. We have the Kenya Roads Act, and also the Kenya Railways Act. So if you look at all these laws, it really emphasizes on issues of safety, the issues of labeling, and I believe that the Kiambu team will be following to see if all these regulations and acts were adhered to ensure that this does not happen again. But in Nairobi, now that we have seen it has happened in Nairobi, we are quite alert, and we will be making sure that we monitor any person or in the industry dealing with the hazardous material to be sensitized. We work with them to understand these regulations and to monitor to ensure that these incidences are averted. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lawrence. And now I think we'll open it up to the panelists. To them that may have gotten us halfway. Remember, we were just talking about the issue of the sodium cyanide incident that happened in Kambembe area of Kiambu. And now we'll just open it up. I've seen a number of people have raised their hand. So we'll have Professor Michael Koech maybe giving in your contribution. Then I've seen Isaac Mpunga, you've raised your hand for a while. Then we'll have Onyango and Magdalene. So Professor Michael, you can unmute and maybe give your input.
Okay, thank you very much, Bwana Otieno. And I would like to thank the presenter, Dr. Mburu, for making and describing and giving examples of problem of cyanide that have happened elsewhere and the dangers that have caused in those areas. Now, as a founding DG NEMA, I'm very pleased with all that is going on and the action and the regulations that have been developed after we did what we did in the 2000 when we were founding NEMA. And but what I would like to ask is that it seems as if these materials were being transported illegally, because I have seen, and many of us have seen on the roads, Mombasa to Uganda and other and DRC. For example, when these caterpillar excavators are being transported, I have always seen a small vehicle in front with a flag indicating that it is a wide load and it is dangerous and watch what you are doing. And at the back, there's another small vehicle that is also having a flag that is showing that the transporter, the lorry that is carrying an excavator, for example, people have to be very careful. Now, coming to the issues of cyanide and the dangers it causes, I would have expected perhaps NEMA and all the institutions concerned, including the Ministry of Health. And what I want to say is that the Ministry of Health, actually, I first read the Ministry of Health information through the WhatsApp group that I belong to, including the EIK and others. And then later on, NEMA came with very comprehensive information about this and what to take. And I was expecting that if we had a vehicle behind the cyanide, the truck that was carrying these things, the same way the excavators are being carried, so that if that truck now fell or in Kiambu, for example, the vehicle that is in front will warn the upcoming vehicles, and the vehicle at the back would warn the vehicles behind them that there's already danger and stop and don't do anything and be there. I believe if that was taken care of, following the regulations that are all there, the stolen containers that I understand were stolen and taken to the Rift Valley area, and all of this would have been prevented, because these things are dangerous to the human being and dangerous to the environment, the way they have been described and explained by the Kamburu. Now, what happened? Why was this taking place like this? Where were the regulators? Where were the police and all of this and the alertness of this? And in addition, what I would have liked to have done is the Ministry of Health to come to various TV stations, including radio stations, and alert the country. And I hope, I have not seen one yet. I have not seen them yet talking on TV or radio. But if that happened, we would save lives and we would save the environment. We will protect the spread and the impact, because what you have said now, whoever carried one of the two containers and they have them in their own rooms in Rift Valley, elsewhere, those things are going to spread from the place of origin to other areas. And so I would like perhaps the enforcement of all the regulations that we have, because, ladies and gentlemen, we have enough regulation that can manage and take care of all the incidences that might take place and plan ahead. And I do not understand why this lorry was carrying this thing the way it did. But
Yes,
in
Prof.
fact, anyway, let's continue doing
Yes.
what we need to do, and in the future to prevent it. Thank you.
Okay, Prof. Thank you so much for that comprehensive. Indeed, there are a lot of questions. We are hoping to maybe have a representative from NEMA or Ministry of Health who also just help us decipher this matter. Yes, if you look at the regulation, for instance, personally, I've just had checked online to just look at the material safety data sheet for this kind of compound. And even just with that, you may wonder if at all, even the truck that was transporting this, whether they had that MSDS document on board, and even whether the driver who was carrying that compound was really aware of what they are carrying. So from the officers from the Kiambu County, maybe he later again, Mr. Kimani might come in and might just give us some little feedback on what they found. But then allow me to just bring in Mr. Isaac Mutunga. Kindly, you may make your contribution and let us try to be brief so that we can hear everyone else, and that we should be able to just have this interactive session and conclude I see we have around 23 minutes to conclude. So yes, Mr. Isaac.
Thank you, Edwin, for your time. And I will be brief, and I have like 2 questions. And my questions I will direct to the Environment Department in Kiambu. I've seen the director is in here.
Yes.
And after NEMA published about the case of the accident on X, I wrote to them asking if the polluter principle should be applied in this case, and they confirmed that the polluter, who also is the transporter, conducted the cleanup of the mess. And now you are telling us there was rain and the spill was washed away. Who is talking the truth here? The other question is on the washed away spill. I'm sure by now it has gotten to our aquatic systems. How can we remediate it when it's already in the aquatic system? What are we currently doing on the soils that the spill in the area that the spill occurred? And also yesterday at around 7, I heard from the news, the director from public health by the name Matendechere. He confirmed that there are some antidotes that are being given to the community that live around that area. Which are these antidotes and who are they being administered to, since you've confirmed that people are afraid of saying that they are the ones who are exposed to the toxin? Thank you, and back to you, Edwin.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Isaac. I think I will allow Mr. Kimani answer that question in a little bit so that we can also get others. I think Mr. Andrew, these are questions on the response and the remediation. There are some questions there. So I believe you have noted that, and you should be able to just help us decipher the matter from your end. Mr. Onyango Mark, kindly, you may give your input.
Thank you. First of all, a great presentation by Dr. Jane. I tend to totally agree with the professor. This incident has not been given the much attention that is needed. Sorry, I didn't mention my name. My name is David Ongesa, NEMA lead expert. The list I expected is for the rapid response from both Kiambu County and Nairobi County to contain this incident. Right now, if this incident was given much attention, we would have seen even tents pinched next to Kambembe area where the incident occurred, with the medical surveillance team and also experts from Kiambu County and Nairobi County doing soil sampling and water sampling and trying to remediate the situation. Actually, Nairobi and Kiambu are bordering counties, and we expect by now a lot of pollution from the drainage has already gotten into even the Nairobi River. So it's really not late, but I'm urging Kiambu County and the Nairobi County officials, because they are here, please, you really need to get back and get your team together. If you lack maybe competent resourcing and tools to be used, here is where you would have deployed remote sensing and also trying to do topology and use any available tool, technical tool that can be used to remediate this. Otherwise, I think just like Professor said, we need a lot of civic education. We need to sensitize the public. We need, at this given time, we need to do a lot of contact tracing so that we might be able to salvage the already sorry situation to save the lives of the people who are living near that area and also the other areas. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mark, for that input. Yes, indeed. The one thing when Mr. Kimani spoke about the rain, the first question that came to mind is that the storm water from the particular point, which direction does it drain towards, and to what direction did that go to? I guess again we have the officials from the Nairobi County and Kiambu County. I believe we should be able to get a brief feedback from that end. We have Ms. Magdalene. Kindly, you can give your input, then we should be able to have one more person, Mr. Roger, then we can get the response from the officials concerned. Yes, go on.
Thank you, Edwin. My name is Magdalene Kagendo, and I appreciate whatever Dr. Jane has presented. It was a very nice presentation. And just to comment on what Nema Kiambu has talked of, it rained and it must be, it means that it has been washed away into rivers. These rivers, downstream users, they use the water, it's used for, sometimes it's used for irrigation. Maybe Daktari, you can comment on effect to plants. Once we irrigate water which is polluted with this chemical, what happens to crops? What happens to eaters of those crops? Secondly, it's just the same as what my fellow has asked about polluter pays principle. And in Kenya, due to corruption, you have seen people have just escaped without doing anything. But it is documented, it is normally documented that this and this has been done. How will you ensure that for sure they have done the cleanup? Thank you.
Yes, those are amazing questions. I think just to note, when I was looking at a safety data sheet that I'd gotten online, in this data sheet, when we talk about bioaccumulative potential, which is now the impact on plants and people who take that plants, here this document was talking about the data not being available when they were talking about also persistence and degradability. So I believe, Dr. Jen, maybe you will have a minute to just give that. I want to take one last question. This is from Roger. Then maybe we can get the feedback from the people who questions have been asked, and we should be able to see. We'll maybe conclude with Stephen and Tobias just in a minute. So go, Mr. Roger, and be brief, kindly.
Hi, everyone. Sorry for joining in late. I intended to come in early, but I was held up someplace because I thought I would offer a bit of information on cyanide. My name is Roger, like it's been said. I work for a firm called Consist Limited in Mombasa. I'm the HSC team lead. I'm also a lead NEMA auditor, lead expert. The company I work for, we do transport cyanide on large scale. And many of you maybe have seen vehicles on the road with red flags, red flyers, and written poisons in front. Small car, one small vehicle ahead and another one behind, like Dr. said earlier on. The vehicle behind normally is a spill kit, an emergency response kit that would respond to a situation like what happened in Rironi. Instantly, the moment it happens, not to wait for people to respond. So that is a bit of what we do here. So we do transport cyanide among other chemicals that are reagents that are used in gold mines. Our cyanide is not used locally. It is exported way into DRC, where there are fairly huge gold mines. So on this particular incident, it's just basically, in my opinion, zero poor management of cyanide handling in this case, probably because they didn't know what they were transporting or they've never taken it seriously, because it is a very dangerous substance, as we do all know. For the missing bits, I understand that out of the 24 that were stolen, only I think 8 were recovered as at yesterday, meaning 16 are still out there. The substance is not just a safety risk, it's also a security risk. If a bit of it is just stopped in water consumption, water systems for people, that is serious disaster, of serious fatalities. On the issue of the substance being washed away by the rain, cyanide, when it mixes with the water, the solution is equally toxic. Wherever it goes, it will still be toxic. Also, there is liberation of hydrogen cyanide gas, which is equally toxic. But okay, luckily, of course, that's now maybe not the case because it may have already gone up in the air. So HCN gas is slightly lighter than air, so it will always obviously go up. But in the immediate vicinity, there will be generation of hydrogen cyanide gas when it mixes with water. So the gas is poisonous, the solid itself is poisonous, the solution is poisonous, all those are poisonous. Solution is poisonous even by contact with the skin. Cyanide will dissolve, will find its way through your skin into your bloodstream if it get into contact with the solution, solid or even the gas. Obviously, it goes into the water systems. Aquatic life is in danger. That means any fish, any living thing in the water will be affected by the cyanide if it ends up in the water. What these guys should have also done is once the spill has been removed, normally you would just apply a little bit of a bicarbonate or something to make it alkaline, and then you apply hypochlorite. Give it some time, it will be able to destroy and denature any cyanide that remains, any fragments remaining on the ground. That's something they could have, maybe they did that, I don't know yet, but yeah, probably they did. On by accumulation, cyanide, from as far as I am concerned, does not accumulate in body tissues. So I don't think that would be a big worry. If anything, once it gets into the body and there's a quick intervention, the body is able to denature whatever is in there and it comes out through urine. Unless there is too much of it, then that becomes a problem. Then that would probably now become toxic to the body. But that, of course, takes place very, very quickly, which is why, in our case, we normally accompany any cyanide going up with an escort team that is well trained. It contains oxygen, which is the first antidote for cyanide. Before now you go back, you can go to hospital and look for maybe hydroxycobalamin, which is now the other intravenous antidote that you need to use in case of severe poisoning. So yeah, again, we are open to, if anybody wants technical advice on how to manage this, we are open to assist, and you guys can reach out. I already made my comments to NEMA, and if they needed, maybe they would have reached out, but I guess they had already handled the situation. However, we are available in case of any situation, spillage management, we could do that. Our vehicles are always roaming around the highway when they're escorting the site to the mine, and they're coming back for the next convoy. Thanks.
Yes. Thank you so much, Roger. I think we really appreciate that input, and indeed, from what you have said, clearly there must have been very serious omission as far as this transporter was concerned. And yes, even as EIK, this is the beauty of the institute, is that we have multiple expertise, and we are doing this for purposes of also just being able to help and advise. And I'm sure even the county government officials who are here, now you can see from within the pool of expertise in EIK, we have people who can also be able to engage. And I believe from this place, somebody should be able to reach out if we need any technical further assistance, and EIK is able to also just work as a link that should there be need for some of this expertise for purposes of doing this. Allow me to maybe go back to the questions that have already been asked so that we don't miss them. The first question was maybe this goes to Andrew or Tip and Mr. Lawrence. Generally, there are questions in terms of preparedness. So the first question was going to Mr. Kimani, Andrew, and the question was about what happened to the wash away principle, what this antidote being given to the community, what it is, and what are the modalities around it, and maybe generally the remediation measures that the Department of Environment in the Kiambu County is doing. So Mr. Lawrence, maybe in a minute, you may want to just in a nutshell elaborate on the measures that as a county government you have put in place, taking note of the fact that there is that information of one, there was an NEMA is saying the place was cleaned up, and on the other side there is information that it was washed away. So has there been any efforts or any remediation measures that have been put in place to just be able to address those hindsights, so to speak?
Okay, thank you so much. I want to clarify issues properly. Okay, okay, first of all, let me react to the issue of the transporter. And I'm happy my Nairobi colleagues are also here, because the consignment, of course, came from Mombasa, and I think first thought somewhere in Karen. What we can consider at that side that we are lucky is that when the truck overturned, the containers did not spill out of the truck. So the onlookers are the ones who broke in, and when they were getting the loot, one container spilled probably half of it, or quite a bit of it. Each container contained 50 kilos. So these 50 kilos is what the NOAT company came and actually evacuated and cleaned, and they applied sodium bisulfate. So as a county, we wanted to come and again apply the sodium hypochlorite on the soil that had already been cleaned. Then the rains fell and we decided that it was too late for us. But the company had already come and conducted the cleanup of whatever had spilled, because it wasn't much. Our worry is the spill up that we are not aware of. I also to clear that by today we had the police had recovered and the community around 20 out of the 24. So now when it comes to the issue of the antidote being administered, the company has provided antidote to Tigoni Hospital, one of our hospitals that is in Limuru. That's the nearest hospital that the community attends. And even in our local stations, the community is supposed to go there. So, and so far 6 people who are exposed to it have reported there. And those are the ones who have received the antidote. So that is the scenario thereabout. But I also want to say that I heard the last speaker. I commend the organization, and I want to even tell Professor, yes, we have laws, we have come a long way, we are not there. Environment has been given a low priority until very recently. And I can tell you for free, these trucks you see all over, not all observe the rules. You remember what happened at Naivasha when there was a collision. So not all organizations observe. And I think these are huge laps. And I believe with these are lessons that it's a wake-up call. So our worry is whatever we cannot trace, but whatever spilled there was cleaned very promptly by the company. So we were only coming now to try and again further detoxify the soils.
All right.
But we are still conducting door to door. We have not given up. We have our people on the ground. We are open to any support, technical support. These are very good forum. And Kiambu County is committed. And we are looking at all avenues and eventually settle out the issues. Because you see the documents that are being provided for are not directly from, we have not really gotten all the manifests, because you understand this consignment from Mombasa, then stored somewhere in Karen, then en route to DRC through Uganda. But basically, I can say there's a lot of contravention of the law, and people should also face the law for the same.
Yes. Yes, I believe, yes, one of the outcomes should be generally what you would want to see. And I've seen people, like people who have contributed here talk about, we need to see a comprehensive report and we need to see some of these people held accountable. To you, Mr. Lawrence, in just a brief, there is also a question for you on generally just the remediation measures. You did very well, and you mentioned some of the laws that are in place. And from your end as Nairobi City County, what are some of the things that you are doing, some of the technical support or some of the initiatives that you are putting in place just to make sure whatever impact may arise as a result of this can be handled as quickly as possible? Maybe in a minute, you may want to give us what you're doing from your side.
Thank you. I think from this experience, we have learned a lot as a county government. The concern really is not about, there was not so much of spillage, but what people took away. So there's the aspect of people. How do we make the public more aware that in the future, when you see such a scenario, you don't just go and carry some package which you don't understand. And in case of such an accident, we have the public who should be the first people to report. So I think we are going to work with the public very closely moving forward to ensure that such incidences are reported early enough, and also to caution them that in future, in case of such an accident, it's better that the public keeps off and notifies the authority for them to take action. I was very happy on the presentation which was done by Roger, and I think moving forward, we'll be working with the similar partners to be able to understand the situation more, to be able to enhance our preparedness and to avert such in future. And about the laws, we are also now going to do more, to be more vigilant, to do more inspections, and ensure that we are more vigilant on the road. We are visible to ensure that in case of such an incident within the city, we are able to be there on time and also to respond and take appropriate measures.
Yes, thank you for that. Maybe listeners, let me just go through some of the comments on the Q&A section. We have Madam Susan saying we need to have a register of all hazardous substance material and anticipate what can go wrong during transportation. I believe them that are doing that according to law. If you see MCA, there's a regulation on hazardous substance. I believe people need some form of licensing to be able to do that, but that is also a very important thing to do. Roger, I think you'd agree with me, there is a law that governs that. Then Anaclet Leda is asking, who pays the medical bill for people who might require medical attention because of exposure? I've had Mr. Kimani say the antidote has been provided at a specific hospital. I want to believe that is free for purposes of administering it. Maybe the other county, the Nairobi County officials, just as a preparation, you may also need an antidote in one of your facilities. Then we also have Calvin's that says that was quite informative. Yes, more still needs to be done. Thank you, Calvin, for your comment. Then Leocadia Grace is asking, if possible, kindly share Madam's Jane presentation. You were late and you would want to go through it. I believe that should be available from the EIK side. You can reach out, it should be shared. Then this Lucy Chepketer is saying, after this incident, we expect a comprehensive incident investigation report from NEMA. Since they are tasked with environmental protection, this will highlight all the gaps and offer preventive measures on future occurrence and stricter implementation on the transporters. Indeed, as a country, yes, this is something that has happened that we really need to make sure we avoid it. Because of the issue of time, I think Tobias, you may want to just there was a question to Dr. Mburu about biomagnification and the impact on crops and the impact on aquatic. Dr. Jane, are you able to just give a comment on that, maybe in 1 minute?
Yes. Concerning the plants, the most toxic form of the cyanide contamination is hydrogen cyanide. And we do not have much that has been said concerning uptake of cyanide by the plant. What we know is that plants, we have several types of plants that have cyanide, like the cassava and all that, yeah. But we know that hydrogen cyanide in the moisture form, if it falls on the plants end up having kind of burn and all that. And again, if should anyone eat these plants without proper cleaning, then they risk ingestion of the chemical itself. Yeah.
Okay, so the impact would be maybe some form of a ban. Thank you so much, Roger, again for this information. He's saying there's a water test kit for sodium cyanide, can be used to test water if there's suspicion of contamination. This maybe just goes to both the counties, maybe in the areas that there is suspicion of contamination. You may want to find out. Mr. Tobias, you have 1 minute so that we are able to just probably wrap it up at that level.
Hello, team. My name is Tobias Ogutu. I'm a public health officer. I work with the county government of Homa Bay. I just wanted to ask the Kiambu team if they have really been able to conduct water sampling to ascertain the safety levels, whether the community members are free to use such kind of waters, or they can wait for some time until such kind of waters are rendered or rendered safe. Again, I would like to know whether have we been able to retrieve all those chemicals that were picked by the residents, and up to now, what how far have we been able to reach? Then again, on multi-sectoral approach, I think we need to bring all the stakeholders on board, especially the health department. And in health department, I mean public health. We really need to work closely with our CHPs so that we ensure that they know how sodium cyanide looks like and what are the precautions that should be taken before such kind of chemicals are handled. And those who are affected, have we been able to tell them that cleaning is key, and even changing such kind of clothes should be done, or such kind of clothes should not be mixed with any other type of cloth back at home. So these are the things that we really need to come out clearly, so that we may be able to advise our community accordingly. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Tobias, for that. Maybe a question on what has been recovered. Its number has been given that out of the 24 that went missing, 20 have been recovered. So we still have 4 of those containers out there. With regards to, I believe, again, I believe Mr. Kimani has given, has said that they are doing a lot of communication through radio and just community sensitization. I don't know, Mr. Kimani, it's a yes or no question. Have you been able to do any water sampling for just purposes of clarification? Because now that has come up maybe twice.
So far, we have not done either soil or water sampling. Probably, Tobias, I would want to inform you where Kambembe is along the highway, just before the junction to Narok, or to the rift, to Narok on the Rift Valley escarpment. That area, we don't have a lot of water sources near there, but we are definitely going to try and sample. That area, most of the homes have piped water, but we are not limited to doing that. We also intend to take soil samples. And the only now limiting issue is that we can only take where the bioremediation was done, and probably now any other place where we find the whole thing exposed, because some of the containers, like the one on Dr. Mburu's slides, you see somebody just deposited and then it was collected with the assistance of the NOAT company. So we will do what it takes. Yeah, but the biggest issue is first to retrieve. And now we are trying to widen the net using the local stations, and so that we can either see whether we have anything in Nairobi, but mostly we suspect, if not the upper part of Kiambu, Lari, probably in the Rift Valley.
Okay, thank you. That's clearer now. Yes, we've all seen how this is very critical. Linux, I believe it's a question, a comment. I'll insist that it is a minute so that we are able to conclude. We are way past our time. We are 7 minutes off. We are supposed to conclude at 4:30. So kindly, you may make your remark as quickly as possible.
Thank you so much for the time. Mine is just a question that goes to the environment department in the Kiambu, the speaker who just spoke. My question is, what is the relationship in terms of response? What is their relationship with the county department of public health when such occurrence happens? what is the working relationship? Because we understand the largest extent of the impact is on the human health. And, we really need to engage the public health department. What is the extent of this relationship, and how have we worked together in this incident? Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you so much for the question.
maybe, Mr. Andrew, before you respond to that, let me just read the other final set of questions in the Q&A section, so that if at all there is anything that involves you, you should be able to respond as we conclude. Magdalene says, kindly promise us that you will come back for feedback. I believe even as CIK, maybe when, because we have also even just some of our experts who have tried to look into this more in depth. So maybe we can have a feedback session after a few days. Adam Subonyo is saying, how did the chemical arrive in Kenya? Where was it stored for transportation? Who authorized transportation of the same? There is the legal issues around the product, and this I think would also be tied to the question as to whether there'll be a legal action against the company that did it, because it's been obvious that there were a lot of irregularities and a lot of illegal happenings around the handling of that. So I believe, again, we should be able to get that feedback, and as EIK will also be following up very keenly so that that information is promptly dispensed to the public. Lolem is asking, we need to strengthen partnership and collaboration right from professional society and association, EIK and public health associations, to government institutions like NEMA Public Health. This is very crucial. Indeed, Mr. Lolem, this forms the basis even for this session. As a result of just this webinar, we can see people like Roger, who are members of EIK, who are also coming up even with additional and more informative information on how to do it. So we are very keen about partnership, and that is why we are also at the center of following up on this matter. If leather shoes are contaminated, Roger is giving us more information. Throw this away as the CN is absorbed and can recontaminate. Best PPE is rubber gumboots, nitrite gloves, respiratory mask, not gas mask, chemical coveralls. The police at the scene could have been exposed. So again, this, I guess I'll throw it at you, Mr. Andrew, because I believe you're having a multi-sectoral team. You probably need to also advise the police, just based on this information, that maybe them that were on site, if there could be anyone who might have been exposed. Then somebody is asking, share the recorded presentation, please. Email, you've given your email. I believe, yes, this presentation will be available, and we should be able to share it. Finally, we have a comment from Leocardi again. In case water sampling is done and we find hydrogen cyanide is positive, are there mitigation measures that can be put in place to protect life and further damage? Indeed, Mr. Andrew, maybe you'll give that comment, but even Roger has advised on something that can be done. Then you're talking about use gas detector during recovery to avoid contamination. So thank you, Roger, for just this additional information. Maybe somebody should be able to reach out for any further advice and information of this. So Andrew, there's that question, your relationship with the public health, and in case you find water contaminated, what could be done? I would want you to just give us feedback on that. Then we should be able to conclude at that level.
Thank you, Edwin. First of all, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. First of all, let me say this: public health are in the lead, and the structure in Kiambu is that we have a maximum of 1 or 2 environment officers in each sub-county or in each municipality, and more than 20 public health officers. So the public health officers are leading this. We work very well. And as I said, our public health, I've done public health and environment, done both. But as we speak, the lead officers right now, we have 3 public health officers. On security, we have the OCPD, so we're working with the police, the DCC, the chiefs, the CHPs, So it is quite a multi-sectoral approach, and all these people are working together with that company as we handle the issue first. So we have very good relationship, and I would want to ensure that and assure that its public health is taking the lead. But when it comes now to environmental issues, we have our officer who is there. We have only one officer in Limuru. So there's a better structure with more people in public health. We're quite a small department in terms of the mandate is huge, but the workforce is small. We're still trying to employ more. When it comes to the issue that the issue that was raised on who authorizes this, when it comes to hazardous waste, and I'm sure EAK knows transboundary issues, NEMA, of course, regulates all this. But because the counties are normally where the actions take place, we cannot isolate the departments of environment across the counties. And I think we've been working very well also with the NEMA as a county. And at the end of the day, we are going to have some good report from both entities, the county and also NEMA. So those are the areas that were being asked. For the police who are exposed, this is quite common because when the police go, they also don't know what is happening, just like the fellas who are exposed. But we are working very well, and the OCPD is giving feedback on each container that is retrieved. So we can say we are working quite well.
Okay.
On the issue of water, we will take the samples because we have to be quite cautious, being aware of the toxic level of this and the danger that cyanide poses. In the lake, is typed water, and the treatment plant could be probably around 20 kilometers or 15 away. So we hope and we are praying that there'll be no contamination of water, but we'll take it up and then we can share the results with people like Rogers who have some experience in this. Then we see how we handle it, because to be honest, this is the first time we're having this scenario. Rogers can attest along this corridor we've not had. We've been quite lucky for quite some time. So once we get the samples, we are going to share the results with everybody so that we see what goes around. But what we are happy about is that due to the awareness campaign, people are taking themselves to Tigoni Hospital, which is a good thing. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And I would just say I've heard you say your department is very small. This is why institutions like the Enviro EIK is here. That sometimes as an institute we can partner, and also just through the experts and the team that are there, we can be able to maybe support and just give advice and input. Ladies and gentlemen, in the interest of time, allow me to just give some concluding remark. I see there's still more questions. I believe we still have our engagement on our WhatsApp group. And should there be anyone here who is not in the EIK WhatsApp group or who is not a member of EIK, we welcome all to join. And in that, we are able to communicate and you are able to have further engagement. Thank you. I would want to sincerely thank and appreciate all the presenters. Dr. Jane Mburu, that information was very good and very informative. I believe the presentation, you'll give us the permission to be able to share the presentation maybe with members, those who are interested in that information. We appreciate the representative from Kiambu County Government, Mr. Andrew, together with the representative from the Nairobi County Government. Thank you for your feedback. And I also believe that this engagement was good and informative to you as well. Maybe as I conclude, I thank my EIK team members who are also here with us. I saw our chair somewhere, and everyone else. Just as for purposes of information, as EIK, we have an upcoming EIK conference. We have an environmental conference. And one of the objectives of such conference is just to bring experts and stakeholders together that we are able to discuss some of these matters. We have a lot of keynote speakers and industry leaders who will be doing presentation. Yes, the conference is themed climate change and energy transition, but we also have just platforms and opportunities for people to network. Andrew, I take this opportunity to invite the Kiambu County government. I believe this will be very good for you, even the Nairobi County government representatives. So we'll reach out for more details. The conference is in the month of October. I believe from the 22nd to the 25th. So we'll share an invitation to your office and to anyone concerned. Otherwise, to all the members present and the people who have been able to join this webinar, we really appreciate your time and your presence. That was very good. We appreciate the contributions. This will help us just put up also our communication and the feedback as EIK, that we may be able to contribute our voices into this matter that has happened. I see there's a lot of concern, and this is a good sign that indeed we have experts who are concerned with the well-being of the society and the community and the environment at large. And because of that, and as EIK, we are open to even Mr. Roger, we may want to ask you to share maybe the communication that you shared with NEMA as well with EIK, so that it can also be an information that is available even to anyone who may want any further information, and even to advise you've seen the Kiambu County is making efforts on how to advise the community on what to do. So we may want to just support their effort and reach their communication to the community, so that we are able to abate any loss of life or any irreversible damage to people and even to the environment. Up to that level, ladies and gentlemen, allow us to end our webinar at that level. We'll keep you posted. The recording will be available, and should there be any other webinar or other professional engagement like trainings that are coming up, we should be able to communicate. Thank you so much for your time, and I believe we look forward to any further engagement in the future. Thank you, guys. I believe we should be able to end it at that point.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
guys. It was awesome.
Yes, for more information, I'm just being reminded, we can visit our website. Then we also have an office phone number for EIK, that is 0769-484895. Anyone who is interested in, who is not a member, interested in joining or any other detail, that should be able to, you should be able to provide it at that level.
So in the last one, visit
Queen, you
Kiambu
can
County.
also share the WhatsApp link.
Yes. Maybe from that number, or you want it to be shared at this webinar?
Yes, you can
We
share here
can
so
allow
that
a few minutes for people wanting to inquire about EIK. I've seen Ms. Kerubo, you've raised your hand. In the meantime, Isaac, let me share a WhatsApp link on the comment section. Ms. Kerubo, you have a question?
Actually, I was just going to ask about the WhatsApp link. So, yeah.
Okay.
Edwin.
Yes.
We have around 20 EOs.
Yes.
So I am sure most of them are not in EAK. So EAK, if you can visit Kiambu, and
I have your contact. Be rest assured, we'll be setting an appointment in the next few days, and we'll pay a courtesy call.
so I can give you almost 20 members.
We look for a meaningful conversation. I'll be paying you a courtesy call in a short while. So I think I don't know from the office, anyone admin chair who should be able to share a link, maybe a link to one of the EIK WhatsApp groups, so that them. Yes.
Edwin, this
Yes,
is
Zelda.
Zelda. So, thank you, members, and thank you for everyone who has been able to join this session. For the WhatsApp group, we have it. It's specifically for the members. I think you can reach the office through the number that Edwin has shared on the chat. Also, through our website on how you can register and be part of us. Then we'll be able now to join you officially into the Institute's WhatsApp groups. In the meantime, you should also be able to at least be able to follow up with what EAK is doing through our other social platforms. I think that's the link that Edwin you can be able to share on the chat, whether it's for Twitter, LinkedIn, as well as Instagram. That is where we are able to keep you up to date with all the different activities and the events or such communication that can be shared on the same. I believe this recording was done, so it will also be put on YouTube for our YouTube channel. But if it's for the WhatsApp group, that one is specifically for members, because that's where we are able to directly and quickly communicate with our members. Thank you, Edwin.
Yes, that is a proper direction from our secretary. So them that are members that are not in the WhatsApp can still reach out through that number. And I see the links have been shared. And yes, we look forward for more engagement and just more feedback moving forward. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. And we believe